Ahead on the CFL Report, the highlights from Week 13 include the Lions over the Bombers, the Argos over the Tiger Cats. A preview of the TSN Game of the Week, the Stamps and the Tiger Cats Sunday at Ivor Wynn. And an inside look at number 71 of the Green Rough Riders, defensive end Bobby Jurison. TSN CFL Report. It's our game around here, brought to you by Carling O'Keefe Brewery. Hi everyone, I'm John Wells, and this is the CFL Report on TSN. Week 13, another unlucky one for both Rough Rider teams. Time is running out for Ottawa and Saskatchewan to make a run at the playoffs, and while there is still faint hope, the odds are definitely long for both Rough Rider teams. Right now, the race in both divisions is for first place. In the East, 3 points separate the top three teams. The Bombers still lead, but it's the Argos in second place this week after knocking off the Tiger Cats. Hamilton is a point behind in third, and the lowly Rough Riders are now 8 points back in last in the East. And in the West, it's the Lions and the Eskimos remaining even for the top spot, but BC still has one game in hand. The Stampeders remain third, 5 points ahead of the Saskatchewan Rough Riders. The highlights from Week 13 coming up in a moment. First, though, it's Peter Watts with another story from the CFL Notebook. Peter?
Thank you, John. A couple of ex-Winnipeg assistant coaches are finding that life as head coaches in the CFL definitely has a downside to it. John Gregory in Regina lost another good one last week. Defensive tackle Nick Hebler is gone for the rest of the year. A severely dislocated shoulder suffered in a pileup and some possible nerve damage. The prognosis is at least 3 months that he'll be out of the lineup. Al Johns, the veteran backup, will take his place. Ottawa's Fred Glick, who was also an assistant under Cal Murphy in Winnipeg last year, has lost 3 more players as the result of the game last Friday night in Calgary. He will be able to get a couple of others back for this week's action. Cedric Minter, the tailback, one of those people who's expected to be able to return to the lineup. But it's certainly tough to develop a team with all of the changes in personnel necessitated by the injuries each week.
Peter, what's this story about Cal Murphy helping out the Buffalo Bills? He's sending players to Buffalo to help them out in the strike.
Well, I guess when you have a financial crunch, John, one of the ways that you can deal with this problem, especially when the NFL stars have been good enough to go out at this time, is that you can send some of your backup people and some of your practice roster people down to NFL camps, help the owners out down there, give them some players. And I'm not sure that that's exactly how they would like to phrase that, but in effect that's what they're doing, because these guys are going to get a chance to play. The CFL teams aren't going to have to pay them. They're going to be paid by the NFL owners, of course. And apparently the deal is that when the NFL strike is settled, these players will be free to come back to the Canadian Football League. So they get some playing time. They probably get paid a little more than they would on a practice roster, and the CFL club saves some money. Now, what the Players Association will have to say about that, of course, is another story.
Murph is in the news again with Andrew McConnell shipping him back east after McConnell's tryout in the National Football League.
Well, Andrew McConnell, you'll recall, was drafted number 6 in the first round by the Winnipeg Blue Bombers last February. He was not able to agree to terms. The Rough Riders offered him the Bombers rather offered him the CFL minimum, and he refused to sign. Instead, he went to the Cincinnati Bengals, had a pretty good camp, made a good impression, but didn't last until the final cuts. So he's been sitting at home in Mississauga for the last couple of weeks, waiting to see where his rights would go. They had a meeting with Cal Murphy when Murphy was in Toronto last Thursday for the general managers meeting out at the airport Hilton. And the upside of it is that the trade has now been consummated. It is with the Hamilton Ticats for a #1 pick next February in the Canadian Football League Canadian draft. And so McConnell, if and when a contract is signed, is now free to report to Hamilton, which is good news for him because he's a good player and he deserves to be on the field and given a chance to play.
All right, Peter, we'll check in with the CFL Notebook more in 7 days. In a moment, the Week 13 highlights as we continue on TSN CFL Report. welcome back to the CFL Report. Coming up a little later, Saskatchewan's Bobby Jurison and Leif Pedersen picks the Week 14 winners. Right now, last week's highlights, beginning at McMahon in Calgary on Friday night. Ottawa got off to a quick start for a change. They led 8-1 first quarter thanks to a one-yard plunge by running back Sean Faulkner.
Touchdown is 6-7.
Stampeders offense woke up and scored 3 touchdowns second quarter. The first, a 41-yard strike from Rick Johnson to Larry Willis. Willis tied the game at 8. Bad news for the Stamps after that. Late in the first half, Johnson had to leave the game with a pinched nerve in his neck. It's doubtful he'll be back this week. Rick Warman in relief finished off the Rough Riders with a pair of touchdowns to Emmanuel Tolbert. Tolbert grabbed 6 for 146 yards as the Stampeders cruised to a 41-19 win over Ottawa. Saturday night at Commonwealth, the Eskimos and the Rough Riders. Unfortunately for Saskatchewan, the Eskimos were not in the mood to be gracious hosts. Early in the first, Damon Allen teams up with Marco Sinkar for an 8-yard score. Edmonton led 10-6 at the half. Allen gave way to Matt Dunnigan, and the little scrambler got 8 yards and the touchdown on this scamper. Early in the third quarter, the Eskimos in front 17-6. Minutes later, the Rough Riders got their only major. Jeff Bentram, a 9-yard toss to Donald Narcisse. Nice catch despite good coverage. That cut Edmonton's lead to 17-13. But that was all for Saskatchewan. The Eskimos reel off 17 unanswered points and win in a walk, 34-13. A pair of games on Sunday. The first, Exhibition Stadium, Toronto, the Argonauts and the Tiger Cats once more. Surprisingly, after 3 close ones, this turned into a rout early. Darrell Smith giving the Boatmen a 17-1 lead, hauling in a floater from Danny Barrett. The final result spoiled a great day by Hamilton wideout Tony Champion. Champion caught 11 for a whopping 202 yards. This one for 61, and the Argos lead cut to 31-15. The Argos scoring threat, Gil Finnerty. 3 touchdowns, including this from 5 yards away. Ticats with a pair of late TDs came away 10 points short, 39-29. And in the second matchup on Sunday, the frontrunners East and West. Blue Bombers in BC to face the Lions. BC holding a slim 13-7 lead at the half. But that disappeared when Tom Clemens found his favorite target, James Murphy. A 17-yard touchdown, the Bombers in front by a point. 21 seconds into the fourth, the Lions got that one back. Roy DeWalt, 33 yards to Jim Sandusky. The Lions back in front, 20-14. Larry Crawford puts the game out of reach when he fields Bob Cameron's punt and returns it 82 yards for the touchdown. It's Crawford's second touchdown return in 2 weeks and the second in his career. Make the final in this one, 30-20, BC over Winnipeg. And that's 2 in a row for the Lions over the Blue Bombers. That matchup is a pretty good bet. Grey Cup Sunday in Vancouver, don't you think? Still ahead, a preview of Week 14, and right now, the TSN players from last week. 5. From Friday's game in Calgary, Stampeder running back Gary Allen. Allen has regained the form that made him All-Canadian in 1986. He carried the ball 16 times for 106 yards as the Stampeders rolled over Ottawa.
Gary Allen has a touchdown and Stamp.
Saturday night in Edmonton, Eskimo wide receiver Brian Kelly. Like good wine, better with age. He just keeps rolling along, making life miserable for opposing secondaries. Against Saskatchewan, Kelly got 7 for 158 yards and a touchdown. He currently leads the league with 1,159 yards. Sunday afternoon in Toronto, Argonaut running back Gil Finnerty stole the show. One of his best games of the season. Finnerty carried 19 times for 76 yards, and more importantly, he scored 3 touchdowns in a key win for the Argos over the Tiger Cats. And from Sunday's second game, BC defensive back Larry Crawford, a big reason for the Lions' success. On defense, Crawford made 4 tackles, added 1 interception, and also returned 6 punts for a total of 180 yards. And still ahead, TSN's Canadian Player of the Week. As well, Leif Pedersen picks the Week 14 winners. He's been hot lately. This is the CFL Report on TSN. Welcome back to the CFL Report on TSN. Just before we look ahead to Week 14, Let's look at the Canadian players who starred in Week 13.
Yet physically.
This week's runner-up, Ottawa punter Ken Clark. Friday night against the Stampeders, the 14-year pro showed he still has a lot of life left in that 39-year-old leg. Clark punted 10 times for an average of 49 yards, including a pair of 70-yard singles.
Concede the single point on this one.
TSN's outstanding Canadian for Week 13, Calgary center Bob Poley.
And the punt team, the center.
Against Ottawa, this 9-year veteran showed his versatility. Poley excelled in blocking for both the pass and the run.
By Allen. He's involved.
As well, he made a solid contribution on special teams.
He's in the end zone. Splitting the
Stampeder center Bob Poley. TSN's outstanding Canadian for Week 13.
He used to play junior hockey.
And in our player spotlight this week, Saskatchewan defensive end Bobby Jurison. In his first full season in the CFL, Bobby Jurison leads the entire league in quarterback sacks with 16.
Number 71, Bob Jurison, is having an outstanding season in the CFL. The defensive end for the Saskatchewan Roughriders is now the league's leader for quarterback sacks. But that fact doesn't impress Bob Jurison.
Well, I think it's been going pretty well. I think I'm doing a lot better than a lot of people have expected, but I should be doing better than I'm not happy with myself is the way I'm playing right now. And I just got to get more pressure on the quarterback, and I have to keep getting more sacks.
You got to sell him on the post. Sell him on the post and then beat him to the corner. You got to let him field out there.
John Gregory is in his first season as head coach of the Riders. Gregory shifted positions for Jurison at the start of the season, and he hasn't looked back.
When I came into Regina, he really hadn't played last year at all, and just a little bit on special teams, and we put him in there to rush end, you know, thinking, well, maybe he's too short and that type thing, and not very big, but he has really played well. He's 100%er every time. If you watch him every play of the game, he's going to be around the football wherever the football is.
The 23-year-old Jurison played college ball at Northern Michigan, and he's his own worst critic.
I think every player is never satisfied what he does during a game, and there's always things you can do to make yourself better, and that's what I'm trying to do right now. I'm not completely satisfied. You should never really be satisfied on what you've been doing. You always can improve in some area of your game. Well, if you were satisfied with yourself now, then what is there to work for? If you're completely satisfied in your game as a whole, then where are you going to go from there? And if you're not, then you're just going to keep working harder to get to a higher performance level.
Jurison is described by Coach Gregory as a fun-loving guy. But on the field, it's a different Bob Jurison.
On the field, I'm a very excitable guy. I like to get, you know, I like when other guys get excited, excitement spreads. And I'm a hard player, and I don't ever want to give up on anything.
At all in this game tonight. Damon Allen has lots of it, but Bobby Jurison has Allen. He made
To sack a quarterback, what to say?
That's the main prize. That's what I'm out there for, isn't it? That's what I'm getting paid for.
It won't be too long before the voting will begin for this year's Shenley Awards. The defensive category, some names that come to mind, the likes of Stu Hill, Tyrone Jones, and certainly right up there will be Bob Jurison having a heck of a season. Ken Chulaback for the CFL Report in Edmonton. Now back to Toronto with John Wells.
Okay, Ken, thank you for that. Jurison and the Rough Riders have another tough game this weekend when they host the BC Lions at Taylor Field in Regina. And TSN's Game of the Week is Sunday, 1:30 Eastern, as the Tiger Cats play the Stampeders at Ivor Wynne. We have two reports to set up that game. The first from Teresa Hergert with the Stampeders in Calgary.
Thanks, John. While the Calgary Stampeders look to improve their record and chalk up another win, they might have to do it without several key players. Missing from Sunday's matchup against Hamilton will be running back Tim Petros with a knee injury. He's going to sit this one out for sure. And another gray area is quarterback Rick Johnson. Against Ottawa, he re-aggravated a nerve in his neck. The decision on whether or not to use Johnson will probably be made close to game time.
At this point, we're not sure what's the prognosis on Rick and stuff, so I'll just prepare like I'm going to play like I have as a second-team quarterback throughout since Coach Kahar became a head coach. So it's really not going to make any difference to me as far as preparation. It'll be a motivation factor for me if I do get a chance to play and get back in the thick of things. It'll be a lot of fun.
The Stampeders took a 3-day break after their last game and then got down to business. With Hamilton hungry for a win, they won't be taking this team lightly.
We've been hustling pretty much, the last week or so, and we had a real big leg down against Winnipeg, and we went into the Ottawa game with a little momentum, and we came out with a little momentum. So hopefully we can go up and surprise those guys, and take away 2 points.
2 points. That's the name of the game and all Calgary wants right now. The team's drive and intensity has been turned on. 2 emotions Coach Kuharich hopes to capitalize on.
Oh, the same thing for us to play 60 minutes, to start fast, finish strong. We finished strong against Ottawa. We didn't start as fast as I would like. And if we could just keep growing as a team, we'll be fine.
Calgary has been working on player skills, tightening up their defense and energizing their offense. They've got their eye on the playoffs. After a rough start, they can't afford any more mistakes.
Well, Hamilton's been through this the last couple of years. They've gone like 8-8 and gone to the Grey Cup, and they won the Grey Cup, so they've been through this before, so they're going to be pretty fired up. And we're on a roll right now, and I think, it's going to be a tough battle. It's going to be who wants it the most, and right now we're hungry, We're winning, we're playing good, and we're confident, so we're going to give them a good game, I can tell you that much.
There's no doubt about that. With Calgary needing the win and Hamilton looking for a victory, it looks like a good game on Sunday. Teresa Hergert for the CFL Report in Calgary. And now with a look at Hamilton, here's Mark Jones.
Thanks, Teresa. The last 2 games, the Hamilton Tiger Cats have looked like anything but defending Grey Cup champions. The offense has sputtered, the defense doesn't have its usual Tiger Cat bite, and the team has been plagued by turnovers. When you add it all up, some heads are going to roll this week, and there are bound to be a few changes made for the Calgary game. The biggest change might be at quarterback. Tom Porras has struggled while Mike Kerrigan looked impressive in relief against the Argonauts.
I'll be ready to start if the coaches feel that's the decision they're going to make. And we have nothing's definite right now. We just had meetings this morning going over Calgary, getting ready for the game on Sunday. But, I go into every game preparing like I'm going to start. And, if it comes down to that Sunday, I'll be ready.
The spark that Hamilton needs is still a week from being ready. Ken Hobart is still recovering from a foot injury. His helter-skelter scrambling style gives defenses fits. When he gets healthy, Coach Al Bruno will have a tough decision to make.
I think anytime, you've got a scrambling quarterback in this league, it's going to be a big asset to your offense. As far as Tom not scrambling, Tom has the ability, he just hasn't done it. And maybe if someone like me gets on him and tells him to do it a little bit, he will. But I think maybe that if I do get healthy and I'm able to scramble after the injury, that it could be a big part of our offense.
Hamilton's offensive problems don't stop at quarterback. There's the offensive line. Dale Sanderson's injury forced Mike Dirks to play center. The line has been shuffled around, and they too are struggling.
We got to suck it up and do our job, and it's really nothing that much different. It's just a couple different people here and there, maybe a couple mental mistakes here and there because the people aren't that experienced in that position. But I believe that I'll be playing center again this week against Calgary, and I'll have 1 game under my belt, and I'll be that much better.
Defensively, the Tiger Cats are looking to put the bite back in their bark. Against the Stampeders, that means putting a blanket on the dangerous Larry Willis and Emmanuel Tolbert, both deep threats.
They're go-getters, they go for the ball. No matter where it is, Tolbert's going to go up and go get it, And what we're going to have to do is when he's up there, give him a couple knocks and make them think about, taking those hits instead of catching the ball so easy. And make sure that they're not running as free as other teams have been letting them run. We're going to definitely be in their path so that they'll have to run around us and do a whole bunch of other things.
I think there's a lot of soul-searching going on right now, and I think that we're going to get it corrected and turn it around.
Coach Al Bruno is cracking his whip. He wouldn't give any names, but he's spoken with 6 or 7 players privately who he feels haven't been giving it their all. He also didn't give the Ticats their customary day off after a game. But don't expect the Tiger Cats to roll over and die. They're a team that always finishes the year strongly. What Bruno really may be doing? Well, he might be laying the groundwork for another appearance in the Grey Cup. Mark Jones for the CFL Report. Now back to John.
Okay, Mark, thank you for that. We're looking forward to the game, Calgary and Hamilton on Sunday afternoon. Finally, we'll get back to work. We've had a long holiday.
We really have, John. It seems like eternity since we've done a game, but I think we've got the best matchup of the week in Calgary playing at Hamilton. And you realize Calgary's won 3 out of 4 since they made the coaching change, so that definitely was a good move.
Well,
Hamilton,
since you made the coaching change.
Well, I mean, I wanted to see Vespasiani gone. No secret about that. But Larry Kaharich's new excitement in that team, and they're playing pretty well.
What's happened to Bruno's Tiger Cats? They're 0 for 2 last 2 weeks.
I think they've just really been tired of playing Toronto. They've last 2 losses back-to-back against Toronto. They had a week off in between, but now they get away from the Argonauts and they're going to start to pull up.
Now that's the only pick you missed, and it was an obvious choice. I mean, the Tiger Cats are going to win in Toronto like the Argonauts win at Ivor Wynne.
Well, I went with tradition. I got burnt, so it won't happen again. But now I'm back on track. I got the BC-Winnipeg game, though. That was the key one. Yeah. So 3 out of 4, pretty good week.
Not a bad week. Yeah. Not a bad week. We'll see how Leif Pettersson does in Week 14. His picks coming right up on TSN CFL Report. Welcome back to the CFL Report on TSN. Week 14 ahead of us. Leif Pettersson is going to pick the winners now. He's hitting it 70%. Not bad. You might be the leading predictor of Canadian football play this year.
You know what? Lately I felt good. The record's been pretty solid, but I've had some pretty easy games to pick.
You got 2 easy ones
again. And I got a couple of easy ones coming up again this week. And we'll get into all of them in a minute. But, you know, when you get Winnipeg playing at Ottawa like we've got this Saturday, and like, who the heck are you going to pick? There's no choice there.
You're not going to take the Rough Riders?
No.
All right, let's get to that one. Are there any matchups of note in this one, Winnipeg?
I think the only matchup you might look for is, can a guy like Greg Marshall against Chris Walby get some kind of pressure on Tommy Clements? But there's really no great matchups. The matchup will be if Ottawa lives to play a game again the next week, because Winnipeg will just come in and fatten all their statistics. It's a horrible matchup.
All right, let's see how Leif Pettersson takes a look at this one. The checks are all down the left-hand side for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, with the exception of special teams for Dean Dorsey once more.
It's not for Dean Dorsey. In this case, it's strictly for Trevor Kennard. He's not kicking very well, and so I put the X to Ottawa, because Trevor, I tell you, if the game's on the line, I don't want him doing it.
We should mention Ken Clark, too, because you always...
Kenny's having a great year. He's punting the ball super.
All right, our game, Calgary at Hamilton on Sunday afternoon on TSN. This is the toughest one to pick, I think. We talked about Calgary, a team coming on a little bit, and Hamilton struggling.
It's a tough game to read, because how do you figure 3 out of 4 for the Stamps in the last 4 games? Hamilton 0-2. Now, who's going to really kind of be ready for this one? You think Hamilton would... 2
Hamilton
losses,
is due.
Yeah, sure they're due, but Kuharek's got these guys playing with some emotion. Now, to me, the key is, though, Rick Johnson was hurt last week. Now, will he start at quarterback? If he starts, we got a close one. If he doesn't, I think Hamilton's chances increase greatly.
So who do you like in this one? You're taking the Tiger Cats.
Well, I take the Tiger Cats just because it's a home field.
Well, you took the Tiger Cats last week and lost a bundle.
Law of averages. I hope we'll catch up with me.
It's the Tiger Cats' turn. Calgary gets it in rushing, even in passing, front 7, secondary. The defensive side of the ball goes to the Tiger Cats, and special teams you call dead even.
Yeah, I call the passing even if Rick Johnson plays. If he doesn't play, look for Mike Kerrigan probably to start. He had a good game against Toronto, even though they lost 25 of 41, 3 touchdown passes. So Boris is filled in admirably, but look for Mike Kerrigan to finally get the start. He's the guy that'll lead them to the Grey Cup.
Final game of Week 14, BC and the Saskatchewan Roughriders. The Riders are overdue, but likely not this week.
They really are overdue, and you know what? They do play pretty well at home, but the BC Lions, boy, did they look good last week. And Larry Crawford, the big punt return for the touchdown, and the offense playing well enough to get by. So BC has to. You're
not going to go with the old green Rough Riders in this one?
Ah, gosh, you know, I'd love to be able to say I think the Saskatchewan Rough Riders have got a great shot, but I just don't think they do. Unless BC has some kind of letdown, you'd be crazy not to pick them to win this game.
I don't think that's going to happen either. So let's take a look at how Leif Pettersson sees it. The X is all down the left-hand side, with the exception of rushing, which Leif Pettersson says is even right now, but everything else goes to the BC Lions.
You know, John, I think Saskatchewan, though they do a good job rushing the football, their real problem area is they can't stop anybody's passing game. And as we saw last week, BC threw well against Winnipeg, and they should have no trouble against Saskatchewan this Sunday. Donnie Matthews put the deuce in the win column right now.
All right. All right, we're looking forward to Week 14 in Canadian football. We'll be back on the air this week after a little bit of a hiatus as we move into Ivor Wynne Stadium on Sunday afternoon. Calgary Stampeders, Hamilton Tiger Cats, 1:30 Eastern on TSN. Join us for that and for the CFL Report next week at the same time. TSN CFL Report. It's our game around here, brought to you by Carling O'Keefe Brewery.